launch a lawsuit against a tobacco company and recover the cost of health services for treating tobacco-related illnesses and disease is a good one. And that one we have seen, there is a business case for that. It has played out in a number of other places. We'd in fact be joining 7 other provinces in legislating this ability to recover costs. So we've got British Columbia, Ontario, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland and Labrador, and New Brunswick. And out of those, we already have 2 that have launched the lawsuits against the tobacco companies, and that's British Columbia and New Brunswick. We've had this, the constitutionality of this tested, and it appears to be holding up. Whereas the constitutionality of Part 1, I have severe reservations that in fact would be able to make it through a charter challenge or a constitutional challenge. So, how do we benefit? How do Albertans benefit from something like this suit against tobacco companies to recover cost of health services? I think there's an argument about justice to be able to hold them accountable for the wrongful behavior. There's a disclosure argument to be able to get at internal documents. There's a possible compensation argument, compensation for those health costs, which again comes back to the taxpayers. And I think also an argument that would encourage companies to change their behavior. And always, I mean, behavior changes through an incentive or a disincentive program. One would argue this is a disincentive program, through getting them to stop acting in a way and promoting people purchasing their products. So, you know, we've got some good ideas to be doing the sections around the third-party liability. One of the interesting parts of this is retroactivity, and it looks to me that in Section 50 of the bill, and I know in second reading I'm not supposed to be going and doing a sectional analysis, but it looks to me like there is no limitation to the retroactivity of this legislation, which is an interesting point, because if this applies to both Part 1 and Parts 2, 3, and 4, we've opened quite a Pandora's box there, but I'm interested in hearing from the sponsor of the bill if they can clarify that one. So I'd really like to support this bill. I would. But
you're reluctant.
Well, I don't know why the government chooses to do this. There must be method in their madness, but truly all I can see is the madness of this. Other than the theme of chasing down someone who's done something wrong in order to get costs, the difference between a third-party liability situation with multinational health tobacco companies and chasing down crooks to try and recoup some kind of cost to the healthcare system, I think are worlds apart. And for me, the likelihood and the scale of what we are talking about here makes the argument. So I'll be looking to see how others are reacting to this legislation. I mean, clearly the government has enough votes to pass this bill. But I'm interested in that business case. I'm interested in what kind of policy documents, what kind of background information, what kind of commission studies they looked at and maybe they can table them so that we can all see them, to decide that this was a good idea, because it looks to me like something that came fairly off the cuff. They thought it would look good and they would just throw it in. And as a result, they've now created a less than optimum situation. And I know my colleague from Calgary Buffalo does want to speak to this, so I'm going to make way for this. But just one final observation. We do end up with a number of people in our system who are either committing crimes as a result of drug addiction, which frankly doesn't make them a great person. It makes them a drug addict, and kind of stupid in my opinion, but also people who have mental illness. And I would argue that for those who are found guilty, I think there would be a disincentive here for pleading guilty on these crimes if they know that with that guilty plea they are then going to be pursued for some sort of cost repayment. There's a disincentive there, and I was speaking earlier about incentives and disincentives to change behavior. There's been a lot of work done in the court systems to try and get people to plead guilty and save us the cost of a court trial. And here we've created a situation which is a disincentive to pleading guilty to a particular crime, because as soon as they do, they're going to get nailed with somebody, assuming that there has been health-related costs here. They're going to get nailed with somebody chasing them for a payback of those costs. So there's another example of where we've created more money, or at least not saved it, in order to pursue this fairly narrow avenue with fairly unlikely outcomes of being able to recoup the amount of money that was spent in those original health costs. So a couple of observations. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Standing order.